Hi everyone, in this video we are going to style the header section. First off, let's take a look at our header section. Here is the header, and let's go into responsive nav, and I'm going to disable the grid so we can see our header better. Now we're going to convert this to this with responsive styling, along with responsive styling. So let's jump into CSS. Our CSS is connected. Let's jump into CSS first. So within the CSS, let's go into the header section. First off, I'm going to get rid of the height, the fixed height for the header. The background for the header is going to be quaternary ML, and the grid column, both of them are going to be there. So first off, I'm going to provide a padding for the header. So I'm going to say padding. Now padding accept when I provide two values within the padding. One of them is going to be top and bottom. The other one is going to be left and right. So for top and bottom, we are going to grab padding V. And for left and right, we are going to grab padding H. So var padding, the size is going to be M. And the orientation is going to be vertical. This is for padding top and bottom. And then I'm going to say var again, padding MH for left and right. Let's say display flex, justify content, space between. It's going to stretch them farthest from one another, and align center, align items center. Save that. Let's take a look at it. So far, this is what we have ended up with. Now, I'm going to grab this H3 and I'm going to style that. That is going to be our logo. So within the header, we are going to have, I think, didn't I provide it with a class? This is class of this. It does have a class. So let me grab it by the class, and then I'm going to say H3. So for the font size, let's increase the font size to the font size static L. This is going to be the font size of our logo, and the color of the logo is going to be var color septenary. Let's save that. Let's take a look at it. But this D is going to have a different color. So let me grab that span element that we have provided there, and I'm going to say span. Okay, let me get rid of this H3. There we go. So for the span, I'm going to say color var. We are going to set it to color quinary. The font weight for that is going to be bold. I'm just going to set it to bold. And the text transform is going to be uppercase, which is going to uppercase that. Capitalize it. There we go. Cool. Now that we're done with the logo, what is the next part? The next part is the navigation. After the navigation, we are going to style the hamburger. So within the navigation, what is it that we want to do? So let's first take a look at the HTML. We have this UL and this registration. So for both of them, we would want to provide display flex. So let's jump into CSS. So I'm going to say header __ nav. And then I'm going to say for this one, display flex for nav links. Okay, there we go. And also for nav register. Register. Okay, let's say register. There we go. And I'm going to say display flex, align items center. Now the gap is going to be a very flexible unit. That is going to be 1 VW. There we go. So this is what we have ended up with. Now the only thing remaining here is that we need to go ahead and apply some changes on these. So they basically stretch all the way to the right of the container. So for that, I'm going to grab the nav itself, and I'm going to say the width of the nav is going to be 100% of its parent, and justify content for this one is going to be flex int, and z index, let's set it to 10 because of that a hamburger icon that we're going to provide in here. So next up, let's style these anchor elements. The anchor elements are within the links, within these LIs, and within the register. So I'm going to grab this link, copy that, put that right here, the anchor element from here, and then we need to grab the anchor elements from the register as well. Copy that, put it here, anchor elements. So let's change the color to color quinary. So it is color quinary. Font size is going to be static S. So var font size. Whereas, there we go, static S. The padding for this one is going to be 1 rem and 2 rem for all of the anchor elements. Now, there is something cool about these anchor elements. If I zoom in, you can see that now it is quite visible that this border bottom, it seems that it is basically curving around the edges. Now, the way that you can come up with this kind of effect is by providing a border radius. So border radius is going to be 0.5 rem or 5 pixels. Then any kind of border that you provide along any basically direction within how can I say this? So if you provide border top, border left, bottom, or right, it is going to be curved around the edges. When it goes to the edges, it's going to be curved because of that border radius that we have provided. So if I say border, like a uniform border throughout, if I say border solid, var, that is going to be color quaternary MD. Let's save that. Let's take a look at our anchor elements. Now, this is that curve that I'm talking about, this bottom left corner. Now, let's remove all of the other borders except for the bottom one. And I'm going to say border dash bottom. Let's save that, and that curve is still going to stay. So this is how we are going to end up with that curve that you can see for our icons, for our navigation. Next up, I'm going to change the color. I've already done that, so I don't need to do it again. And finally, for that hover effect, we need to provide a transition. So transition all, 0.25 seconds, ease in out. Let's save that. And finally, when these elements, they are in the hover state, clicking there, holding Alt, and clicking there, I'm going to say hover. When they're in the hover state, what do we want to do with them? We want to change the background color to var color quaternary MD, color quaternary MD, and the color is going to be color scenery. Var color scenery, not secondary, scenery. Save that. Let's hover on them. There we go. So basically, they're changing their color and the background. There we go. Cool. Now, when you're hovering on them, the background is going to be the same color as the border. There we go. So we are done with this part as well, with the styling of these anchor elements. Now, next up, let's go ahead and let's take a look. We are done actually with the header. The only thing that we need to complete is actually the responsiveness of the header. Now, the responsiveness of the header is completed within our media queries. So first off, the first thing that we need to basically work out is when do we want our navigation to go away and the hamburger icon to appear? When do we want to do that? So we need to come up with that first. So for that, for us to be able to do that, we first have to go ahead and keep decreasing the width of the window. So after 900, there is still some space right here. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to keep decreasing that. So if we go to 800, there is still some distance. But you can see that that distance is getting smaller and smaller and smaller. So I could provide it right around 700. So around 700, what we could do is we could provide that, or just not to make it look worse, I'm going to provide it around 750. So I've zoomed out a little bit because there is going to be a lot of lines of code and the navigation is going to be a little bit tricky for me. So first off, I'm going to paste this comment, very unique one for media queries, and we're going to jump into the media query for 750. So I'm going to say at media, screen, and so we want these styles to kick in at the maximum width of 750 pixels and below that. So the maximum width is 750, but it could be triggered at 700, 600, 500, doesn't matter. But it is not going to be triggered at 800 or at 900 or at any of those values above that. So that is the maximum width that it is going to acquire. So max width is going to be 700 pixels. Now, when I go to 700 pixels, the first thing that I would like to do is I'm going to grab the header. I'm going to decrease the padding. The padding is a lot. So let's take a look at that. So you can see that there is a lot of padding on all of the sides. I'm going to decrease that. We are going to say var padding SV, so small vertical, and then the same thing for horizontal as well. So let's copy that, SH. And then I'm going to say justify content, center, and background color. Let's change the background color as well. We're going to change it to color quinary. Save that. There we go. So this is, if I go 750 pixels, this is what is actually happening. So we are right here. So there we go. I could provide that at around 720. Let's save that. Let's 720. I think that is cool. There we go. Now the next thing is that we need to go ahead and we need to get rid of this. First off, we don't see that span, that tick D. Let me fix that very quickly. So I'm gonna grab this comment, put it right here, just to signify that we are working in the header. So that span is header logo. Oops. Header logo, and then we are gonna have span. Now what do I want to do with that span? The only thing that I want to do with that span is I'm just going to change its color. So I'm going to say color var color tertiary. Save that. Now it is visible. There we go. It is visible. Let's jump into our hamburger menu. So I'm going to create a comment and I'm going to say hamburger menu. So for the hamburger menu, let's grab the div with a class of hamburger. Let's put it right there. So we want the position to be fixed. Okay, so position is fixed. It is going to be 4 rem or 40 pixels from the top, and the same distance from the right, 40 pixels. Now the dimension of the hamburger is going to be 50 pixels height and 50 pixels of width, or 5 rem. I'm going to provide it with a temporary background color so we can see where it is lying, where it is actually present. So I'm going to say color primary. So here is our hamburger menu. Okay. So this is the background color. Let me change the cursor to pointer. And the Z index is going to be 20 for this one. Cursor pointer, so whenever we hover on it, the hand icon, the cursor is going to change to a hand icon. Now before moving forward, what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab our navigation and I'm going to get rid of that navigation so we can better see our hamburger and we can better style it. I'm going to get rid of this navigation first, and then we are going to jump back into our hamburger. So I'm going to say hamburger menu. Let's copy that comment. And this one is going to say reorienting. So reorienting. Nav icons, nav links. There we go. So let's grab our navigation. So it is header nav and I'm going to say justify content center. I'm going to comment this one out, and I'm going to show it to you later. And let's provide it with a gap of 4 rem. Position is going to be fixed. It is going to be 0 from the top and 0 from the left. So we want our navigation to start at the top left corner and then stretch towards the bottom and towards the right. That is where we want it to actually be. And let's provide it with some padding, static values. The dimension are going to be 100 VH for the height, and for the width, I'm going to set it to 30 rem. So if we go to as small as 300 pixels width for the screen, the navigation is going to be responsive. Up until that is my breakpoint. That is where I basically hit the brakes and I say, okay, that is enough for responsiveness. Let's change the background color so we can see the text. It is going to be color quinary. And we are going to say transform. Now we want to translate it along the x-axis. So I'm going to say translate x to negative 100 rem. So along the x-axis, negative values, they go towards the left. And when it is coming back, we need to transition it so this change happens smoothly. And I'm going to say, I could say cubic Bezier of 1001, my favorite. Let's save that. There we go. We are done with that. So we don't see that anymore. We could come back to this hamburger menu, but now that I'm here, I'm going to complete the styles for this one. You know what? Because we can't see it, so I'm not going to do it. I'm just going to jump back into our hamburger menu. Now we have styled the menu. Let's grab and let's create the lines. So this is hamburger menu lines. I'm going to grab the hamburger line. So position is going to be absolute. There we go. The background color is going to be something that we can see. So it is color quaternary. There we go. The height for our lines, the height for our lines is going to be 0.25 rem, which is 2.5 pixels, and the width is going to be 3 rem. Let's save that. Let's take a look at it. So I'm going to zoom in for this example a lot so we can see what it is that we are actually doing here. It's 400. There we go. So this is our first line right here. Now all of the lines, they're converged at one spot, even though it looks like there is one line, but actually all 3 lines are on top of each other right there. So we need to separate them from one another by providing with different positions. So I'm going to say hamburger line. First, let me grab the first child. The width, now the hamburger width is going to be different for these. So I need to basically just click on this. That's easier. So if you take a look at their width, it is going to be different. So the first one is smaller, then a little bit bigger, and then really big. So we need to come up with that kind of. So the first one is small. I'm going to say 2 rem. From the top is going to be 0, and from the left it is going to be 0, 0, and it is going to have a transition all 0.5 seconds and ease in out. Ease in out. There we go. So we are done with this one. I'm going to show you that trick that when you click on this hamburger, this is the first line that is coming, this small line. You can see that it comes after the third line. It forms a cross, then the first line is going to jump down. So that's because the transition duration for the first line is a little bit bigger than the transition duration for the third line. That is the trick that you can do there. So hamburger, not jamburger, hamburger, line, nth child, let's set it to 2. This is the second one. So the second one is going to be 1 rem from the top. The width is going to be 3.5 rem. The left is going to be 0. So from the left, all of them are going to be aligned. And transition for this one is going to be different. So all 0.2 second is and out. Let's save that. So here is going to be the second line. You can see that the first line is a little bit bigger, smaller than the second line. Let's jump into the third one. So for third one, I'm just going to copy these styles. Let's set it to last child. So the width for this one is 5 rem. The top is going to be 2 rem. The transition is going to be 0.35. So 0.15 seconds is going to be the difference between the first line and the third line. And that delay that you can see there is going to be like 0.15 seconds. Let's save that and let's take a look at our third child. There we go. Cool. Now we need to provide styles for toggling them, and then we are going to provide the JS. So first I'm going to say toggling navbar. So toggling navbar. When I add this line 1 class to any element, what do I want that element to do? Now the way that this effect in general it actually works is we are going to create custom classes in CSS. These classes, they're not created using HTML. They're only present within CSS, and they're going to contain some styles. And when we append any of these classes to any of our existing classes, which represent actual elements, now these custom classes, they are not representing any kind of element. They're just floating around there. But when we append it to any kind of element, then all of the styles will also be applied on that appended element. So I'm going to say transform. First, I'm going to say rotate 405 degree. Now it is going to do a complete 360 degree, and then it is going to do plus 45 degree angle. So if I say 405 minus 45, which is the angle that we have provided it with, we are going to end up with a 360. That is why that line, it does a complete 360, and then it does a 45 after that 360, like a 360 round or rotation, a 360 degree rotation, and then it is going to do 145. So 360 and then again 45, and it is going to land at that 45. That's why you can see it is 45. We can also provide 2 values for the transform. As long as they're not colliding, both of them can be applied. So at the same time, I wanted to translate it. These values are extremely experimental. You need to experiment with these just to know, okay, where that line has to be. So if I append this class to the first child, I'm going to say hamburger, I'm going to say dot line -1. This is how you can append it, but we are not going to append it manually. We are going to append it using JavaScript. If I come here and if I take a look at this, line 1.hamburger transform, rotate 45 degrees, and then translate 0.35 plus 1.5. It is not applying for some reason, so let me just grab this value. Okay, and let me just get rid of that. Let me put it right here. Let's save that. There we go. So that's exactly what we are going to do. So you can see this is actually what is happening here. You saw how it basically did a 360 and then a 45 after that. So let me get rid of that. There we go. Now it is going back. Let's complete the other custom classes as well. So what do I want to do with line number 2? So line number 2, I want it to be visibility hidden. I don't want to see it. I want it to be hidden. And for line number 3, we are going to do a rotation as well. Now for this one, when I rotate it, I want to increase the width as well. So I'm going to increase the width to 3.5, and I'm going to add important just to make sure this applies. For this one, we are also going to do these two values, but they're going to be different. So the rotation is going to be negative 405. It's going to be in the opposite direction. And the translate of x, we don't need to translate it along x. So I'm going to say 0, but along y, it's going to be negative 1.15. And the width is going to be 3.5 rem as well. And finally, we are going to apply or append this class to our navigation. So we know that navigation is translated negative 100 rem, but we want it to come back. So we're going to say translate x 0. So it is going to come back to its original place. Now that we are done with all of these styles, let's jump into JS. So I'm going to copy all of this code from there. I'm going to put it within the JS. Just go ahead and save that. Don't worry about this. Now it is fully working. So if I click on it, you can see how it flickered that line from the middle. It is not removing quite abruptly. So let me just, it has to go faster. So let me take 0.5. Now this should be 0.2. Save that. There we go. This is how it is looking like. Now, what I did was I provided an experimental background color. So let me comment that one out. So this is what we are going to end up with. There we go. So let me take a look at this one. Let me enlarge this a little bit. There we go. I think they look the same. So those values for the degrees, you can go ahead and you can basically manipulate them. So if I were to say translate 1.3 for the line number 1, and if I click on it now, this is how it is going to look like. So you need to translate it towards the X and towards the top, and then you're going to come up with that design. Come up with where that line it has to appear. Now, for some reason, our navigation, it is not being reappeared. It doesn't come back. So let's take a look at that. The reason that it doesn't work is because I've used main-header class. In my project that I've created, I've used main-header, but in this project, I've used only header. So we are not actually selecting that element. Now the element is selected perfectly. So if I click on it, all of our the navigation comes from the left, but it is in a messy shape. So let's go ahead and let's fix this as well. I'm going to close JS. That is it for JS. I told you we're going to come back to our header navigation. So first off, I'm going to grab all of our display flags that we have done right about here. So I'm going to grab all these selectors. I'm going to come down here. And for these, what I'm going to say is I'm going to say gap 1 rem and flex direction. Let's set it to column. Let's column. Let's save that. There we go. So everything is right here. And there is something else that we need to do here. And that is, I told you that we're going to come back to this. And I need to show you why it is justify content center. Because flex direction is column, a justify content works vertically. So if I say center, all of them will be center right there. So I'm going to say center. Now all of them are center right there, but we can see our navigation. So we need to go ahead and we need to provide them with a different styling. So I'm going to grab the anchor elements within the links and within the register, the way that we have done before. So anchor here. We are going to say color var color primary. Set it to that, and I'm going to provide it with a margin top of 2 rem. Let's save that. There we go. So margin top to rem. It's still, because they are inline elements, that's why the margin doesn't actually work. Header nav links, anchor element. Okay, I could say for they are, when they are within these links, they are, let me just inspect this first before giving out any hypotheses. So this, the margin has been applied, but for these the margin is not being applied because they are within that. Why is it not being applied? So let me take a look at one of them. The margin top, it says here that it is being applied, but it is not, even though we can see those. For the anchor element, for the services, we are going to have, where is margin top 20 pixels? But it doesn't show. The reason that it doesn't work is because if you take a look at that here, these anchor elements, they're within these LIs, so you need to move their container, their LI, for them to be able to move themselves. So for this one, that is cool. I need to come up with some other way. I could just say LI and then comma, and that is going to work. There we go. So now you can see that it is actually working. So I'm going to close that. I'm going to go to very, very small 300. I'm going to click on that. We're going to see home, about us, services, contact, sign in, and sign up. There is a lot of space right here. It should not be the case. There shouldn't be a lot of space. And let's go up. Let me fix that very quickly as well. So align items, gap is going to be 1 VW. Now what we have done here is that the gap is 1 VW, but the gap is the same for all of the elements that we have. So let me just go ahead and inspect it. Let's see what is happening here. So it is grabbing that, and there is that value, these two values. Okay. I don't think I need a margin top for these two. I don't think I need that. So let me go ahead, let me go down, and let's go ahead and let's take a look at that as well. So where is that? It is right here. So if I get rid of this register, let's see how it is going to look like. Of course, we will not be able to see them. They don't have any margin. How can I fix this without breaking any more code? So gap is 1 rem for all of the elements that we have. Flex direction is column. Gap is 4 rem that we have provided. This 4 rem, I don't think this is being applied. 4 rem. Okay, let me select this. Select, where is the navigation? Now this navigation, it has to have this 4 rem. You can see it is not being applied. I think the reason for that is because that selector, it has higher specificity. So I'm just going to use important. Let's take a look at that, and I'm going to bring back the register anchor elements. So this is going to be register. There we go. Let's save that and get rid of that. There we go. I think now they look cool. Margin top. Let me go in here. For some reason, the margin for these, it is a little bit bigger than the margin for those that we have. So margin top, it is 2 rem. 2 rem for anchor element. Okay, let me get rid of that. And I'm going to say anchor element. And then we are going to use this color for that one as well. Let's save that. Let's take a look at it. Still, the height is not that much. It has to be, let's set it to 3 rem. Let's see how that is going to look like. It is certainly a little bit bigger. So the margin for these ones is gap 2 rem. The margin is 2 rem, and then there is a little bit of gap there as well. So gap 1 rem. Is this being applied? Let's get rid of that. I think that is being applied. It is being applied. I don't know why these are really simple styles, and sometimes these can be real pain, really painful. So this is margin 3 rem being applied. And where is that gap? Let me just comment that one in. Okay. Let me put the margin. This is, I think, a little bit more than the one that we have here. Yeah, that is definitely more. This margin is not being applied for some reason. And I think I've left out a style, because these ones, they have to be, let me get rid of this calculator. Why is it open now here? Now, the reason that I think the margin is not being applied is because our anchor elements, they are not display block, they're display inline. So when they're display inline, they do not accept, they cannot accept that value for height and width or margin top and bottom. But I don't think that that is going to be the issue right here, because, okay, nav links, anchor element, padding, everything looks okay. Border radius, transition, query, everything looks fine to me. Anchor element, link, register, hover. And why do they look different? Why can't I crack this? So if I click on this, on the hover, this is what it is going to have. No, not on the hover. I'm just gonna, very simple. Let's get rid of the, how can I get rid of the hover? So if I come here, for some reason, these styles, they're different. So for this one, okay, definitely the margin is being applied. For these ones, color, there we go. Where is the margin? So margin is, for these ones, we need to apply it on the LI itself. So one way that I could get rid of this is get rid of all the LIs. So I could do that. So I'm going to say LI, goodbye LI, and let's get rid of all of these as well. Let's save that. Let's go above. So we are right here. So in here, the only thing that I can do, that I have to do, is just select the anchor element. Let's save that. Let's take a look at our items. Now, there we go. They don't have that color. Let's jump into here. I'm going to get rid of this, and I'm going to say links A. Let's save that. And now, and the hover is broken. We need to fix that hover as well. This is how the hover is fixed. There we go. So now they should look the same. except these look smaller. The reason for that is we have provided margin top 3 rem. So let me just set it to 2 rem. I hope you're not getting confused. This was just a minor setback. Now they look the same. The reason for that was that li was actually creating that issue for us. So if I just get rid of that, now you can see that space there. Now this is how I intended to look. So with this, our lecture comes to an end, and in the next lecture, we are going to code the hero section, and then right after that, we are going to style the hero section. See you then.